You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast. Hello everyone, good day to you. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Armchair Cricket Podcast. This is a podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. We are recording this episode on the 1st of February. We're happy to receive support and feedback from listeners from all over the world. Keep supporting us. Do continue to listen to us and also introduce this podcast to your cricket-loving friends. You can find us on Podbean or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Just look for Armchair Cricket Podcast on anywhere you listen to our podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Share your thoughts in the comment section. You can email us on armchair.cricket@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @armchaircrickpod. We are sometimes on Twitter during live matches. You can join us there for a banter. Now, having said that, I would like to welcome Ajit. Hi, Ajit. How are you doing?
Hi, Giri. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been doing good. A lot of cricket to follow this week, so a lot of enthusiasm for me.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into the cricket, shall we first look at the question that I had asked, let's say in the last episode, so we can take a quick look at the question and the answer. So before we go to the question or the answer, let's say I was looking forward to a few more inputs from our listeners, but I didn't get any. But I'm hoping in the upcoming episodes, we get a few more listeners participating and maybe answering our trivia question. So the trivia question was, can you name any cricketer from the South Asian subcontinent who has represented more than one country at the highest level? So some of the answers for such a question are, so when India and Pakistan got created in the South Asian subcontinent, right? So there were many people who had already, let's say, represented an Indian team who went on to then later represent Pakistan team. So 3 such examples are Gul Mohammad, let's say, who played 8 matches for India and then 1 match for Pakistan. And then Abdul Hafiz Kardar, who was, let's say, one of the more, let's say, entertaining stars of the Pakistan cricket in the early years and also one of the architects of the Pakistan cricket. He started by representing India and let's say he played 3 matches. And then later he went on to play 23 matches for Pakistan. The third such player would be Amir Ilahi. He played 1 match for India, but then went on to represent Pakistan in 5 matches. So these are like 3 such cricketers. But there's one other cricketer who does not fall into the same category as representing India and Pakistan, but still played for 2 countries. So this would be the Nawab of Pataudi Senior, which would be Iftikhar Ali Khan Pataudi. He played initially for England, let's say 3 matches in the 1932-34 series, and then he represented India in 1946. So these are some real exceptions where from the subcontinent, these are the players who've got to represent multiple countries. This was our question or the answer to the question. I would say hang on till the end of the podcast. We have one more trivia question for you that you can attempt to answer or maybe answer successfully for the upcoming podcast. Now then, let's go on to the test series, Giri.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Do you want to start with Australia and Sri Lanka?
Yeah, good one. So let's say with Australia, Sri Lanka, we know the second test has started from the 1st of February. That is yesterday night for us, our time, and in Canberra. So we knew already that Sri Lanka were sort of on the back foot even before the test match started, because you see their entire fast bowling lineup had to change. So we already knew Kumara was out, but on the eve of the test, we got to know Chamira and Lakmal are also out. So that basically meant Sri Lanka had to go in with 3 new fast bowlers. And so they handed a debut to Chamika Karunaratne, right? And along with that, they had to bring in Vishwa Fernando and Kasun Rajita. So we already spoke about Kasun Rajita in the previous episode, but we also have Vishwa Fernando, who's a left arm quick, and Kasun Rajita is a right arm quick. But then you have Chamika Karunaratne, who's sort of an interesting case. This guy, he's not only plays cricket at a very high level, but also was the 2nd ranked badminton player in all of Sri Lanka. when he got a call up.
Really?
Yeah, that's very
He was
interesting.
active? He was actively playing badminton for Sri Lanka?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, yes, he
Okay, that's
was.
quite interesting. Hmm.
So you have this guy coming in, and let's say, I'm sorry, a bit of a throat. So this guy comes in. So let's say Australia win the toss and get to bat first, and then maybe would you like to quickly summarize what happened in the first test play?
Yeah, sure. So this was a new stadium. I think it was a new pitch. The first ever test match played there at that ground at Canberra.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, Australia, fortunately, yeah, I don't want to say fortunately, they won the toss, right? I mean, they won the toss and they had no hesitation in opting to bat first.
of course.
Like you said, Sri Lanka had a new bowling lineup. The seamers were completely new. Rajita, Fernando, and Karunaratne.
Yeah.
Um, so when the Australians came out to bat, I think Sri Lankans bowled really well. They were quite accurate, and they also managed to get early wickets. So Australia were 3 down for 28. So they lost Marcus Harris, Khwaja, and Labuschagne cheaply. So
Mhm.
they had a very interesting first hour of play. So Sri Lanka were quite good in the first hour of play, and then after that, Travis Head joined the other opener, Joey Burns,
Yeah.
and both of them put together yeah, I think it was a long partnership, more than 300 runs if I'm not wrong. So they put on such a long partnership, both of them scoring centuries. And at the end of the day's play, Australia were 384 for 4 wickets at a scorching run rate of 4.41. That's more one day like, I would say. Um, for Sri Lanka, 3 wickets for Fernando and one for Karunaratne. The other bowlers were Pereira and De Silva. Pereira was the more experienced of these guys, but I think he went for a lot of runs, no wicket, nothing in the wickets column for him. So at the end of the day's play, 384 for 4. Joey Burns still at the crease, unbeaten on 172, with Curtis Patterson batting with him on 25. So Australians rightly on top there. So they were, I think, after the first 3 wickets went down, Sri Lanka didn't have a chance after that. So, oh, yeah.
Okay, nah, that was a good summary. So just a couple of things to add to that. You are absolutely right. Sri Lanka started really positively. So Australia were like 3 for 28. That's sort of tough on a first morning of a test match. But
Mm.
I think Vishwa Fernando started well. I mean, he was sort of bowling the standard lines and lengths, and the ball was swinging gently out. I think Harris sort of got out trying to reach out to the ball. So did Khwaja. And I think Marnus
Mm.
Labuschagne, sorry, was sort of dismissed. I think he was worked out by the newcomer,
Mm.
Chamika Karunaratne. So he had a good wicket to begin his test career with, right? But then, as you say, Joey Burns and Travis Head, they sort of got together. They put on a 308-run partnership, which is sometimes more than an entire innings, and they did it in a very fast clip. You're absolutely right. The rawness in the Sri Lankan lineup came through the bowling lineup. Look, the three fast bowlers had 5 tests between them. It really showed. Right, Sri Lanka
Mm.
leaked a lot of runs, and also I don't think they did themselves any favors when they dropped a lot of catches. I think they have dropped 4 catches, right, during the day. And one of the most crucial ones was, I think, Joe Burns was just dropped before lunch,
Mm.
which could have been crucial. If Australia had gone into lunch at 80 for 4, I think the complexion of the game would have been different.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, well, these both guys really went on to make big hundreds, daddy hundreds. Joey Burns is 172, as you said, rightfully. And Travis had 161, also a big 100. But also, I think when both of them converted their made their hundreds, you could see they were a bit, emotional. I think
Yeah.
Travis had said at the end of the day he remembered Phil Hughes, his good friend. And I think Joe Burns was sort of remembering the travails he went through in the last couple of seasons when he was out of the Australian team. So sort of it came out when they got to the
Mm.
landmark. But I think they did well, right, to get to the 100, because I was reading on Twitter, Andrew Sampson, who works as a statistician with both SABC and Cricket Australia, sometimes also TMS. He sort of put out a stat on Twitter that said, the 100 from Joey Burns was the first one
Mm-hmm.
in 6 tests for Australia, and only once
Mm-hmm.
have they ever gone for a longer test match spell without 100 being scored by one of their batsmen. This was all the way back in 1956 when they went 7 tests,
Mm-hmm.
a whole Ashes series against England, 5 tests, and one test each against India and Pakistan, where they couldn't score 100. So this was a long dry spell as far as 100 was concerned, and it was broken in a grand way. Two big hundreds on the same day, right?
Yeah.
And the last possible test match on the home summer. So well done them.
Yeah.
So, but
if it
I mean,
rains, it rains really hard. Yeah.
indeed, it rains heavy. So, but it looks like, I think, look, I mean, going forward, having considered 384 already on the first day, Sri Lanka have their backs firmly against the wall. I would say they're really up against it, because uh, even if Australia were to get to 500, which looks like a minimum at this stage, they have two set batsmen at the crease and some more to come. I think they are in a bit of trouble. And this Sri Lankan batting lineup has already been a bit brittle. They've lost the first test match. And I would say maybe, let's say the Australian bowling lineup still has a few things to say. Mitchell Stark would probably be raring to go. Jay Richardson is very promising. And of course, Pat Cummins is the man of the moment, isn't he? He took a 10 for in the previous test.
Yeah, I think it's completely stacked up against Sri Lanka right now. I don't. I mean, I hope they don't get a hiding. I think their batsman needs to step up and put up a good performance. Australia probably will bat another 2.5 sessions, and at the end of it, I think they will be about 600, close to 600. They're pretty sure will not bat again, and Sri Lanka will, if they can avoid follow on, that's well and good. But let's not get ahead of things. But I hope that Sri Lanka can, they have good batting lineup, so I hope they can make a match of this. Show some courage, show some spirit, be out there, and then play, take pride in playing for their country, and then put up a good performance. So I would really like to see that. But if that's going to happen, that's another story.
Indeed, let's look to what the pitch has to say. As they say, never judge a pitch until both teams have batted at least once on it, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Let's see. And of course, what you were saying to me offline, Sri Lanka does have a very talented batting lineup, but they are also good during the second innings. Maybe this is the time they do it in the first innings, right? You were saying this makes sense. So maybe this is the time they come good, they walk away with a bit of pride. The series may go, but if the opposition tops 600, I don't see them coming back to win the series or at least square the series. So at least they take a bit of pride if they were to draw this test. So a couple of quick points which are sort of off-field points. So at least one of them, let's say if you were to discuss about it, Will Pukowski has opted to withdraw himself out of the squad, the test match squad, so that he can continue to work on his mental wellness, right? So this is a very young player. He's only 20 and he has a documented history of few mental issues. So I guess this comes for the good, at least for the player, that he's asked to withdraw himself. But somehow I think when I look at this whole saga, I think the Australian selectors may have rushed him into the test squad without really taking a look at how, let's say, how ready he was to get into the topmost format of the game, the most competitive format, and perform for Australia. Maybe he was not yet there. That's what this shows, right? And the other thing I would like to point out is maybe they sort of let it out that he was being, sort of released so that he could work on his mental issues. I don't know if that really affects him in a positive way, knowing that he's already having these issues. Maybe pointing this out so openly might make it a bit, less nice for him. But he's a young man. What do you have to say about it?
We've had some cricketers with a history of mental illness over the last few years. One name that pops up in my mind is Marcus Trescothick, the English opener. He had quite a bit of an issue. I think he couldn't play the winter series. Basically, so he couldn't play when he was away from England, so he had to be close to home or playing at home. And we also had the other guy, number 3, who batted at number 3. What was his name? Forgot. Mitchell Johnson ended his career, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, at least scared him. So Jonathan Trott, I would say, yeah.
So we had these, highly prolific cricketers who had issues. So maybe it's also time to speak about this. Make it more, more public, create more awareness, if you can call it that, about mental issues. I hope this guy, what's his name, Pukowski, gets the kind of support he needs in this, in this moment of, weakness or whatever. So I hope he gets the support he needs and then makes a comeback. As he said, he's a kid. He's just 20, 21 years old, so he has a long career ahead of him.
Indeed.
But maybe you can answer this question. I mean, have you ever heard of any player from our subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka, with mental issues. We have never read about any story like that a player had such an issue. Have you heard of anyone?
I think it's something to do with the cultural makeup of our
Hmm?
region, the South Asia, because I'm sure there have been players who've faced mental issues before, or let's say mental illness, or sort of something about their mental wellness. But I think it has been hidden and sort of put away as a format of a physical injury, maybe, so that the player does not look very bad in front of the public's eyes. It's
Hmm.
more of a cultural thing, I would say. That's one point, that maybe there are issues which don't come to light always, right? That's one point. But the other way of looking at it is probably us. We have a very, let's say, a way in which we talk to our
Hmm.
peers and our maybe our elders, or maybe those in the coaching setup, and we are able to let this out. We
Yeah.
don't let it get damned, and so that you get this dam burst and you get an issue. Probably we sort of communicate our issues sometimes a bit too openly and a bit too intimately to other
Hmm.
friends or peers. But maybe there's a lesson in that. Sometimes when
Yeah.
you tend to keep all of these bottled in, maybe it's not a good thing.
So
So
you're saying the support system is a bit different in subcontinent compared to the Western world.
I would say
The
that,
support system is more professional, let's say, in the Western world,
yes.
and in the subcontinent, it's like you said, it's a bit more intimate. So you can confide in people a lot more easily, right?
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Also, it's a very slightly an informal setup where you don't probably feel judged. You
Yeah.
know, you're not
Yeah.
sitting on a couch in front of a professional. But
My
anyway,
friend.
so
Yeah. Anyway. Hmm.
yeah, that's a good point you brought up. The different in cultural makeup affects how much people sort of also let these things come out into the public. Maybe.
Yeah. But let's wish Pukowski well. Let's hope
Indeed,
he gets better soon and makes a comeback,
indeed.
or make
That's a
gets a debut. Yeah,
He
Test debut.
will. I think he has a bright future ahead of him. Let's say, and
Ahead
we
of
wish him all the
yeah.
best.
I think one point we were talking about offline, Ajit, about the opening partnership for Australia, opening batsman for Australia. So
Yeah.
we just saw Joey Burns made a big 100 right now, and there is
Uh-huh.
one guy waiting to make a comeback after the end of his ban.
Well,
You know
assuming he
who?
gets a chance, David
Yeah.
Warner, you mean? Yeah.
Well, what's going to happen? I mean, how do you think this will line up for Ashes?
Yeah, good question. Look, I think given that he's made such a big 100, maybe he has more to add to it tomorrow, right? I
Hmm.
would say Joey Burns gets a berth on the boat, as they say, on his own potential and on his own merit.
Hmm.
If Warner were to come in, I'm sure he'll be, let's say, added to the squad, and
Yeah.
he'll have to compete with Burns and Harris, because Harris has been doing
Yeah.
well as well.
Yeah.
He's averaging in the 40s even in this innings. I think he began well but couldn't convert. So Harris has done well. So let's say it'll be a nice competition between these three,
Hmm.
and David Warner will have to sort of get back into the rhythm and get back into the squad. Really, he may not be the first choice opener. This
Yeah.
could be
So
a really
on
point.
present form, they would go for Joey Burns and Marcus Harris.
Yes, how do you leave out a person who made 172, even if your next test is the
Absolutely.
first Ashes
Close
test?
to 200. Well, let's hope he gets a 200 though.
Indeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point, man. Good point.
Yeah.
All right, then. So maybe we can go on to the next ongoing test currently between England
Yeah.
and West Indies
The
in
big
Antigua.
one.
Indeed.
Yeah. Played at Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards' home ground, right?
Holy cow. Holy cow. I don't know if they have a board with the whole thing in the
No, I
stadium.
think they
We
just
got
have
it.
Sir Viv Richards or Sir Vivian Richards Stadium or something like that. And
Indeed.
one of the ends is called Sir Curtly Ambrose End. Do you know that?
Of course.
The other one, Andy Roberts.
Yes, of course. Very famous Antigans. Also both
Yeah,
knighted for the services.
yeah, it's
Well done,
amazing.
them.
It's a beautiful ground. 366th beach. It once was, no longer.
Wow.
Uh, they have 365 beaches. They claim that they have so many beaches in those islands.
One every
And
day. Wow.
and this pitch or this ground was banned, right? ICC had banned any international cricket to be played here for a year or so.
Yeah, I
The last
guess
time
the
they were
test
here.
match had to be suspended. The pitch was
Yeah.
not found to be of sufficient quality. Maybe
So
I'd say all
mm,
this talk of beaches got into the stadium, and the stadium itself had a little bit of a sandy sort of
sad.
quality, and
Yeah.
they felt the stadium was not really, or the playing pitch, and the ground was not very stable, so they had to abandon a match previously. But I think now it's good, but still, I think
Yeah.
the curator has done a good job.
Yeah.
They kept the
It's
pitch a bit more curated, a bit more hard, a bit more mature, the strip, in such a way that there's too much grass there, but if that's the way forward, it still contributes to a good cricket game. So what we saw was a green pitch, so which basically meant, both teams going with 4 quick bowlers.
Well, it's certainly not a docile pitch. We all saw that. I think if you look at what happened, West Indies won the toss and they decided to field first, because I think they thought there was a lot of life in the pitch on the first morning, on the first couple of hours, and tried to make inroads into the English batting lineup. And they were quite successful. I think they had quite a good start. The bowlers were quite nagging in line and length. They were very good, consistent. Roach and Shannon Gabriel. And England were, I think, 5 down. No, I think they were 6 down for 90 odd, right?
Yeah, you got that right, I think. Yeah.
6 down for 90 something until Moeen Ali and Johnny Bairstow put up a fight. I think there was also Ben Foakes who came in later. Do you want to take through the innings and the impact of the West Indian fast bowlers?
I think you've summarized it well. So when it comes to the batting, if you look at the top 6, there's only one relevant score, 52 by Johnny Bairstow. It was a counter-attacking 52, right? Yeah. And then there was, Moeen Ali and Foakes, as you said. Moeen Ali made the top score in the innings of 60. It was also crucial that Moeen Ali did this because he was really looking at sea against Gabriel when he began. I think in the first 3 balls, I think he got hit on the lid once and he hooked very, very unconvincingly. But then, coming to the bowlers, I think Roach and Gabriel were really incisive. Yeah. And Roach more so with the new ball. Gabriel sort of began with the new ball. He was sort of a little bit first 2 overs later, he looked a bit uncomfortable. I think he took a quick break to consult the physio. And I think the physio told him, go out there and run it off. Right?
He had some hamstring issues, right? So I think...
Yes. Yeah. But then he comes back. And then, also Alzari Joseph was playing on his home ground. Had an impact. Right. So I think Joseph dismissed Denley and then Rory Burns was dismissed by Roach. And I think you made a comment offline when you said Joe Root's ball was the one that
unplayable.
The one that hit on that raw, let's say that surface just around the good length area from one end.
Yeah.
If the ball pitch is there, anything can happen. Either it can scoot through and dismiss you. I think today in the second day's play, I think Roston Chase was bowled. There was nothing he could have done about that ball.
Yeah, I think Ian Bishop mentioned this during the commentary. There is a dry patch around the good length area when you're bowling from the Curtly Ambrose end.
I see.
And if you hit that patch, anything can happen. It can either spit out of the ground and hit like take the edge like Joe Root had, or it can stay down like Roston Chase.
Of course.
So the one which got Joe Root was unbelievable. Nobody could have played that. Even Jeffrey Boycott could not have played that.
Jumped off a good length, right? Jumped off a good length at his throat or his face.
And then he completely collapsed. He couldn't believe what was happening. I think it was
and it was also a good catch, right? To get him out.
It was there was teamwork. Campbell and Shea Hope.
Yeah, the keeper.
He parried it, and Campbell parried it, and then Shea Hope took it on the rebound.
Hope took it, so it was in the slips. Okay, cool.
In the slips.
No, but I think when you name 2, I blame the administrators because when you name both the ends on 2 such menacing fast bowlers, what do you expect the pitch to do? I really name it as the beach end or whatever, bar end. Come on.
Yeah. But come to think of it, Jimmy Anderson was not happy bowling from the Andy Roberts end.
Of course, everybody wants to bowl from the Curtly Ambrose end.
Ambrose end, yeah. And Stuart Broad was bowling really well. Yeah,
of course. I think Broad had a point or 2 to prove, and I think he bowled well when his turn came. But before we go there, I think Ali stuck out, and he somehow rode through these tough patches, got to 60. He was supported very well by Foakes, but they both knew their time could not last forever. So they got to a really strong position on such a tough pitch. Considering they were 6 for 93, they were then 178 for 6, which was good. So on such a pitch, probably 200 is a par score, right? 225 even. So I think they would have fancied their chances at that stage, but then this guy Gabriel wakes up. He was probably asleep or whatever. He wakes up.
Giant,
Yes, he really gives a thorough working over to both the batsmen, and Foakes is dismissed, bowled by Gabriel. But just before that, Roach is also in the action. He takes Moeen Ali out of the equation, and then the tail folded up. So I think the most relevant thing here to say is, given they were 178 for 6, England were dismissed for 187 in another 9 runs, right? So I think the tail was really quickly dismissed, and these both veteran fast bowlers can take credit for that, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But one more thing, Shannon Gabriel was really bowling well at the top of the order. So when he got all those 4-5 wickets down, Moeen Ali came out to bat. They tested him with that switch in music.
Of course.
And to my real surprise, they didn't have anybody at short leg or what's that called, leg gully. And a couple of balls flew off Moeen Ali's bat or the shoulder of his bat towards the leg gully region. I think Moeen Ali could have been dismissed a lot earlier than he was. He was riding his luck. Everybody was riding his luck on this pitch. I think Johnny Bairstow summed it up later when he said, you got to take your chances. When there is a ball to be hit, you have to take your chance because you never know what's going to happen. There is a ball with your name on it, and that's going to take you down for sure. So in the end, I think I'm actually, to be really honest with you, I thought 187 was a very good score. Looking at how the pitch was behaving and also thinking what Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad along with Ben Stokes would be able to do on this pitch. I was hoping for a lot of action from their side and, a lot of sting, So, which takes us to the first innings of West Indies or England's bowling.
Yeah,
Would you like
yeah,
to go
go
through
on.
that?
Well, okay. So I think we should give a lot of credit to the openers, the West Indian openers, Brathwaite and Campbell, because they sort of stuck it out. They spent 20, 21 hours overnight. They did not give a single wicket. They were only 30 runs, but they made sure England could not get in that evening. At 20 for 2 would have been much different from a 30 for no loss, let's say, right? So they should be given the credit, and they really absorbed a lot of pressure. So first of all, Campbell, who I think plays more strokes than Brathwaite does, he sort of absorbed a lot of balls. He took 118 balls for his 47, and he was dismissed well after the first hour in the second morning. But then Craig Brathwaite continued to play. He was really unlucky to be dismissed for 49. He really deserved a 50, having defied the England bowling for almost 3 hours. I think between these two, they made sure that, even though the first wicket fell at 70 for West Indies, the second only fell at 133. So between Hope and Brathwaite, they made sure that sort of the bowlers were already beginning to tire. They had already batted out 50 overs, right?
So there was no collapse, basically.
Indeed. Yeah. So then the bowlers, of course, came into it. So you could not keep the bowlers out forever. Broad really came back into it. He dismissed both Hope and Chase, as we talked about, with an unplayable ball. But by then, what the top four had done, they had made solid contributions. So you had a 49, a 47, a 44, and a 33. The 33, what you mentioned previously, of course, Bravo, who's not out. He's taken 165 balls. He stayed at the wicket for 3.5 hours. Just to keep the bowlers out. It's a really scratchy, stodgy innings. Very unlike Bravo, but what I like is the application and the character he's showing.
No, he's basically dropped anchor and then he has stood there. He's not budged. He has said, I'm not going to move. You got to bowl me something special to get me out on this.
Agreed. So on such a pitch to last 165 balls, he's done really well. On top of that, he got a little bit of support. Hetmyer did his bit 21. Dowrich did his bit 31. And they still have Holder. Let's not forget his double century. 19 not out. And I think, look, West Indies already have a very handy lead. At the end of the second, they have a handy lead of 83 runs or even 85, right? So this basically means, let's say if the lead were to cross 125, really West Indies are in a very, very, very comfortable position. Having said that, let's say, tomorrow sort of again begins a new day, and the bowlers are nothing. They're nothing to speak less of. Anderson, Broad, Stokes, they may come back. Karan has not had a lot to do, but he may come back. Ali bowled well. He took 2 wickets. So if the bowlers were to strike back, if they were to still restrict West Indian innings to under, let's say, a lead of 100 or 110, England still have a chance. So this is my prediction. Even a chase of 125 in the 4th innings could be very interesting because of what the pitch is doing. You can't expect this pitch to get any better as it wears out, right? You don't expect it to flatten out like in the previous test in Barbados. So I would say this is going to be a shortened match, not going the full distance, but it's going to be a very exciting match. My prediction is West Indies will take it simply because of the amount of lead that they'll make in the first innings. If they get to anywhere around 150, it's done. Let's say I don't see England coming back, but you never know. And in the second innings or in the 4th innings of their, the match, West Indies would do well to probably do a little bit about their batting. Maybe push somebody like Hetmyer at 3, and even
if there is a chase. I mean, if they want to chase down a short target, you mean?
Exactly. If it's 100 or 110, push a couple of stroke makers a little above. I'm not open.
But even before that, when England come out to bat for their second innings, their batsmen should spend more time at the crease. Bat at least something like 3 or 4 sessions. Give their bowlers a rest, so that when they set a target for West Indies, assuming this is not going to be an innings defeat of a horrific kind, let's say they put on they set a target for West Indies, their bowlers will be a bit fresh. They get some respite, they get some rest to replenish themselves and come back hard at West Indies during the second innings. So I think it's important the England batsmen, apply themselves, not just go on an all-out attack thinking this is going to be a very tough wicket to bat on. They just have to apply themselves, just like Brathwaite and Campbell did for West Indies. So they have to spend a lot more time. I think that's going to help them either win this. I mean, I don't know if England is going to win this. You may never know, but then it's going to make them give a fair chance to come up with some goods, to deliver the goods at the end. Yeah.
And if they were to, let's say, maybe take 110 overs at least, right? Maybe they give their bowlers the required rest, but also give themselves enough target.
But let's not forget, I mean, during the first Test match, the England bowlers bowled for a long duration. They were wicketless for almost 1 day or even more than a day, I think. So they already had some. They've already spent a lot of time in the middle there on the field. So they need a bit of rest. So any rest they can get, they will be very happy with.
Of course.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a short turnaround between tests. You have a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, let's see how this test unfolds. But it's going to be a really interesting affair, right? And West Indies stand a chance of taking a 2-0 series lead here. They would be very excited about it, I'm sure.
Right? I think I'm hoping for that as well. It's really nice to see West Indies playing so well after such a long time. So it really bodes well for international cricket. Calypso cricket. Yeah.
Of course. This is a good point you made. The Calypso brand of cricket should, fly proud or play proud. But I'm going to say whenever West Indians play England, they always have this bit of a needle. So I think it's something to do with the history between the two cultures.
I saw. Sorry to interrupt you. I saw a boundary by Dowrich. He played. He pulled the ball. I think it was from Ben Stokes. It was just shortish. He just did an instinctive pull on one leg, the Nataraja shot, the very famous Nataraja shot.
Flamingo Nataraja.
Yeah, Flamingo Nataraja, whatever shot. Yeah. It was very good to watch. So for once, it reminded me of the old glory days of West Indies cricket.
Desmond Haynes on one leg.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In West Indies, previously, there's always a saying that says, there's always room in the air. No matter how packed the field is, there's always room in the air. So that's the culture. That's the flamboyance of the nature of play should not be taken out of it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So let's see how the test match unfolds. I'm very curious about it. But just when we're talking of stats, I think in the previous episode I may have said Holder is 6'5", right? Maybe I was wrong, but in this case he's 6'7" or 6'8" almost, because he's 2 meter 1 centimeter tall, and that makes him probably the tallest centurion ever. This is something I would like to look at. Or probably
Jason Gillespie, what about him? I think he scored a double century probably against Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. I don't remember.
He did. But he's more 6'5", if I'm not wrong, rather than 6'7".
Oh, okay.
Look, Clive Lloyd himself was 6'6", right? But we'll have to look it up maybe when we get an opportunity. This is just an interesting stat for me to just ponder about. And if any of our listeners would like to tell us if Holder is indeed the tallest centurion ever or the tallest double centurion ever, Tom Moody may have made 100. He was 6'8" as well. We don't know. Let's ask our listeners to contribute. Let's ask them to pitch in.
That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. So the last small point, to go quickly through this. It looks like, I think some of the comments of Flintoff and Boycott may have sort of attracted a bit of criticism from the West Indies cricket board's, chief executive. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think they kind of spurred them on, I think, with those comments, Andrew Flintoff and Jeffrey Boycott. Maybe a bit disrespectful. I think the current crop of players do deserve a lot more respect than what was on offer there. It's not a nice thing to say, but then let's hope it spurs them on and make England pay on the field, like the old days. Let's hope
Look,
that happens. Yeah.
as I said, there's always a bit of needle when these two sides play, and especially in the Caribbean, in front of the home crowds, right? At the end of the day, look, uh, as long as there's enough respect between the players, what somebody outside of the field has to say, they will say. These
Yeah.
pundits, it's
Yeah.
not a big deal. But uh, there is a reason West Indies have not conceded more than one series to England in the last 50 years, right? They're always very proud of it.
Mm.
So, going back to, if you look at the annals of history, I think one of the ex-England captains, the late great Tony Greig, seemed to have run afoul of the West Indian crowd at some point in time. And he was the captain of England. I think this was the 1976 series. He was sort of, I think he used a very disrespectful term. He said he would make the West Indian team grovel. And I think the West Indian players did not take kindly to that. Right. And you could have guessed the rest of the series was completely one-sided. And in one of those test matches, in front of a very, very partisan oval crowd, if I'm not wrong, Tony Greig who was fielding near the boundary, literally went down on his knees, sort of to say, I'm sorry, I made a wrong comment on it. Right. Very theatrical, very Tony Greig.
Yeah.
But that happens. So don't take these guys lightly. The West Indian cricketers are always proud and they have a lot of talent. What they don't have is probably an application. But this team, you could see clearly the difference between the two teams was the application, right, through this series. So never write them off, man. This is my takeaway from
Let's hope it's not a false start, like we had in the past. Let's hope this is.
As we spoke in the previous episode, under Jason Holder, they look a bit more settled, at least the longer formats. Let's hope, they convert this into a long-term promise. They're number 8, right? England are number 3. But maybe they win the series and this is a positive start for them. All right. Now let's go forward. Maybe we now go on to the 2 or the 3 one-day series that are in progress. So first, let's go to the New Zealand-India series. So we know that, New Zealand were already 3-0 down. The home team was under a bit of pressure.
They had lost,
Yeah, they made a few changes to the team. They brought in James Franklin and Todd Astle to see if they could try these people out. Now that the series was lost, probably it's time to sort of finalize their combinations for the World Cup as well, right? So shall we quickly go through the 2 one-dayers then? So shall we encapsulate the... let's go through the 2 one-dayers. Maybe let's start with the 4th ODI. And I think I may have gotten the name wrong. It's indeed not James Franklin. James Franklin is probably not in the frame. But it's
he's probably long retired, I guess.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let's go through the 4th ODI, Giri.
Yeah, let's do that. So the 4th ODI was played at the same ground as the second one. No, sorry. We're talking about the third one, right? We first need to talk about the third one.
Did I miss that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mount Maunganui. Maunganui? How do you say that?
Maunganui.
Maunganui. Yeah, sorry about my pronunciation. Yeah.
Mine is a guesstimate as well. Go for it.
Yeah, the third ODI was a tight contest, better than the first 2, I would say. So India won at the end. New Zealand batted first, and they chose to bat first after winning the toss, and then they made 243. I think 243. They were all out. Inside of 50 overs, they were all out in 49 overs. Taylor, I think Ross Taylor played a very good 93, and Latham supported him with a 50. But apart from that, nobody else stood around them to, get a bigger score. So this looked like a very good batting surface. But I think New Zealand came up short on that. India bowled well. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Shami, especially Shami, he's been bowling quite well in this series after making a comeback into the ODI team. So you have to commend him on his efforts. I think he's done well. Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav, they were also effective. Kuldeep Yadav, although did not pick up any wickets. However, we also had another guy making entry into the team, making a comeback into the team, Hardik Pandya. He had a quiet match. He got 2 wickets though, but I think he played well for those 2 wickets. He bowled well for those 2 wickets. Yeah. Was there also a catch that he held very nicely? Yeah, I think so. There was Kane Williamson. I think he took a catch off Kane Williamson. It was a wonderful catch. So in the end, New Zealand were bowled out for 243. Good bowling performance, I would say, from India. And India, they are the master of these chases now, so they chase down anything. The top three were quite good. I think Shikhar Dhawan missed. He played. I think he made only 28, but Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma both made 50s, 60 odd runs. Both
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
I think when Virat Kohli got out, or was that Kohli? Yeah, when Virat Kohli got out, it was 168 for three. They needed another 80 odd runs, and Raidu and Karthik were at the crease. They got to spend a lot of time at the wicket. You have to say it's been quite some time. I think they both batted so long. So it
Hmm.
was good batting practice for them, match practice, I would say, and they took India home. In
Of
the end,
course.
comprehensive win.
Yep.
Um, in
And
43
India took
overs.
the
So they just
series.
didn't, yeah, India took the series there. So 3-0 up. What could go wrong from there? They had everything in the bag. So what happened afterwards? Do you want to say, Ajit?
Well, apparently the only way was down for this Indian team because they seem to have missed, or let's say, got the first of all the combination a bit wrong. So they decided to rest Shami, and Dhoni did not make a comeback into the team. His for the fourth ODI, I would have seen Dhoni in the team because Kohli was not there. He's such a big influence, Kohli. It showed,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
But it was swinging conditions, and Indians did not seem to have understood this, did not seem to have picked it. And then
yeah.
New Zealand got to bowl first, and they really made it count. So let's first of all fully credit Trent Bolt for a wonderful bowling spell of 5 for 21. He was very ably supported by Colin de Grandhomme, right, who took 3 for 26. But so this is almost like going back to the days when there were two new balls newly introduced, almost like 2015 World Cup times, where
Yeah,
Bolt sort of began one end of the innings and bowled out. And then
yeah,
one other guy replaced him on the other side and sort of also bowled out. So Bolt and Grandham almost sort of bowled in tandem for a long while, and they really had really good swing going, right? So that along with the swing that was in play, I think the pitch was sort of a little slower than what was anticipated by the batsman. So you could see there were a lot of
mm,
cotton bowls. So at least at the top of the order. So it clearly showed they were sort of in a slightly sticky wicket that they couldn't make out. And then so Rohit Sharma was dismissed, caught and bowled, and then Dhawan was sort of clearly dissected where he was dragged in front of the stumps and one came in and he missed it and he was plumb. Shubman Gill, who had a very decent enough debut, it was not easy conditions to bat, but he too sort of ended up spooning a straight catch to Bolt, and then sort of Grandhome took over from there, and he dismissed both Raidu and Karthik for blobs. I think Raidu played a very aggressive shot, sort of to try to break the shackles, even though he had not played a whole lot of time at the crease, and he got dismissed for a duck. And Karthik sort of guided a swinger that was going away from him straight to the keeper. So basically,
mm,
this left the top order in a complete disarray. And Jadhav was also completely opened out again by Bolt with the ball
mm,
coming in. Right, wonderful exhibition of swing bowling by Bolt. And then sort of Pandya sort of came in and realized we are going to now probably fall for a 35. So he sort of tried to hit out. He scored 4 quick boundaries. He sort of took India beyond their lowest, ODI score, which was sometime in 2000s, I think in 50s, and he sort of took it out. And then even though he couldn't last very long, sort of Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal showed the sort of application the top order should have shown. This is where I would say Dhoni was missed. Probably a 90 ball 50 or a 90 ball 40 from him would be very appreciated on this pitch, on this sort of a pitch,
mm,
because even a 175 would have been a good score, on such a swinging sort of a pitch. Maybe in the afternoon it would not be the same, but you would still take your chances. But at
mm,
93 or 92, you had absolutely no chance. And then, of
mm,
course, New Zealand came out to bat and they were free. They were free in their mind. Gaptil showed that approach. So he was six
yeah.
four four out, the first 4 balls of the innings. Bhuvneshwar Kumar got him out, but he was clearly showing, I'm going to go for my shots. I have nothing to lose, right? He opened with Nichols, who was promoted to open in place of Colin Munro.
Yeah.
Colin Munro, I think, has run out of his chances. So I think he may have to now find the hard way back into the ODI team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have Jimmy Neesham, who slots in nicely at 6, who gives this additional bowler batsman balance. And you also have all-rounders like Bracewell and Grandhomme. So really, I think Colin Munro might find it a bit tough. So he'll have to do all the hard yards quickly.
Yeah.
So along with Nichols, Williamson sort of stayed for a while, but Nichols and Williamson were calm. But then once Williamson was dismissed again by Bhuvneshwar Kumar, in comes Ross Taylor. He has nothing to lose. So he adds some impetus, and even before the dinner break, New Zealand comfortably win this. So
Yeah.
as Bhuvneshwar Kumar put it at the end of the match, it's a good wake-up call,
Yeah.
right? For this Indian
Yeah.
teams, was absolutely flying, and then
Yeah.
they were brought down to the ground with a crash. So it's a good one, and it's nice to see it's happening here rather than at the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
So it's good, and I think the Indian team management will realize they need Dhoni's, the experience, the nous that he brings in. They need it in the center. Him saying something to a player, nudging a player here, there, moving the field a little. All of this will really matter.
Yeah.
You know,
But one point I have to mention this.
Go for
In
it.
the top six batsmen in the Indian batting lineup, if you
Uh-huh.
notice, none of them are a regular in the test side. So we don't have any test regular in the top six.
I
So you
see.
have Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan, but they have both been on and off. But
Yeah.
apart from them, there is nobody who could actually spend time at the crease. To just get a feel for the wicket. Nobody was there to spend time at the wicket. For example, somebody like Cheteshwar Pujara, although he's not part of the ODI setup, I know he would have spent a bit more time before playing any rash shot or playing away from the body without minimal footwork. So I think they miss somebody there with the experience, with that kind of experience, and Dhoni might have made a difference, like you said. His presence itself would have calmed things down a little bit, and he would have taken time. He had all the time, right? I mean, they were bowled out within 31 overs, so they
Yeah,
had a
of
lot more
course.
balls to play with. So I think they miss that presence, that kind of presence, where somebody would, drop the anchor at one end and calm things down a bit for the guys. Because the moment the people see a swinging ball, I think it kind of makes them feel a bit afraid. I think they're not used to these kinds of conditions on a regular basis. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
No, no, let's see. I mean, I think in the upcoming matches they will fix the lineup. Dhoni might
Hmm.
come into the equation again. One of Karthik or Rayudu may miss out, right? So we'll see. And also, look, Sharma and Dhawan have the depth or have the experience. When they got out, I think the rest of the middle order sort of did not have that.
Mm.
Even though Rayudu and Karthik are very experienced at the domestic level, probably
Yeah.
they missed out on this trick, what you just
Yeah. Yeah.
pointed out, right? One of
Yeah.
them had to stick in. Shubman Gill, I don't expect too much to ask. So, but it's his first match. But one of these both, they both scored ducks, unfortunately, and so did Jadhav. He didn't make much of
But
an impact. But okay,
mm,
it's a one-off. That's the way I would like to look at it, not really worry about it. The series is one. I would not like to make it 3-2 if I were in the Indian team management, coaching management, right?
mm,
So also maybe on such a pitch, it's not a bad idea to probably play two fast bowling all rounders or medium pace all rounders. You have Pandya good. Maybe how about Vijay Shankar on this pitch, right? Maybe
yeah.
these are the sort of pitches you could expect if India were to play. I don't know their entire itinerary, but in the World Cup, maybe if they play in Headingley or Rose Bowl or one of those places, maybe
Mm,
having two fast bowling all rounders, even having as many as four or even five pace options might not be a bad idea.
yeah.
It's an option to have rested one of the spin bowling options as well. They choose to bring in Khalil Ahmed, who's sort of learning his craft. He's a left arm pacer, so he brings this additional thing. But maybe one of the wrist spinners could have been left out, and maybe Vijay Shankar
Yeah.
could have played. Just a thought. But if you score 92, it makes no sense. It makes no difference if if you have 5 or 8 bowlers. But it
Yeah.
helps. That calmness along with an additional bowler could have made a difference. But let's
Well,
see,
yeah, I
man.
think they do need an additional bowler, right? Because if they were to play Rayudu and if they were to take, make use of his part-time off
He
spin,
can't
they would
anymore.
not be allowed to, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
he's banned now. He
yeah,
can't bowl anymore. You have a point. So
yeah,
maybe you're right. In England, I think there may be. I somehow feel Pandya might be the only bowling all rounder. But let's see. Well, let's see. You see, look, I would even maybe include Jadeja. It's not a
yeah,
bad
we
idea,
forgot about him, right? I mean, yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
fine. So he bowls these fastish sort of balls who
yeah,
doesn't really require a good pitch or a bad pitch. He sort of takes the pitch out of the equation. He might be the sort of guy as well.
mm,
Let's see how it goes. This is a good wake up call, as we already discussed, and I think Dhoni needs to come back into the mix, and they need to think a little bit more about their combinations. It's
yeah.
fine,
Mm,
it's all fine, but you don't want to lose the momentum. You don't want to lose 2 matches in a row, right?
yeah.
Something
But
the Indian team
I
management will
think
do.
Shubman Gill should be given a chance one more time. You
Now
think?
that you've started him off in the team, it would not be right to simply rest him or simply drop him immediately. Maybe he needs to play at least one more match. Let him get a bit more time in the
Yeah,
middle, right? This is my
yeah,
opinion. All right. So now that we've finished the men's side of it, let's um, let's
yeah.
just see if we can
What else is
quickly
going on? Yeah,
look at the women's side, right?
yeah.
So in the women's ODIs, so again, New Zealand and India women are facing off against each other, right? So the Indian team had already played like the first one day and they had won it comfortably. But
Yeah.
in the second one day again, the Indian team won the second match comfortably, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was sort of all went to script, so to say, for the Indian women's team. They first of all bowled first, right? And they dismissed the New Zealand women for 161. Only the captain, Amy Satterthwaite, making a 71, right? The Indian fast bowlers were good. Jhulan Goswami and Pandey, they were really good. Shikha Pandey. But then when it came to the Indian innings, they were really comfortable. So Mandhana scored another 90 not out, really under a run a ball, really quick innings, but very calm. And she was, of course, accompanying Mithali Raj, right?
Yeah.
This doyen of Indian women's cricket, who's really a international superstar. We don't give her enough
Who
credit.
just finished her 200th ODI, right?
Of course. I think with the third one-day international, she's finished her 200th ODI. She's one of the.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, one additional point I would like to make here. There
Go
was
for it.
one more person who finished 200 ODIs. Have a guess.
Nah, come on. I know it's Rohit Sharma. But
Yeah, who also
late.
ended up on the losing side in that match.
That happens. I mean, look, I very much expect at least.
Also, Quinton de Kock, who finished his 100 ODIs, he also, I think, he got out cheaply, and I think they lost that match, South Africa.
Good
Anyway,
man.
let's.
It looks like these hundreds of.
Not the milestones to remember. No.
Yeah. But anyway, so to wrap up the first match, that was it. It was not much to write home about. It was a very up and down affair, straightforward. But the third match, I think New Zealand women had learned their lessons. So first of all, they inserted India into bat, right? And then except Deepti Sharma, nobody else in the top order had anything to say. Harmanpreet Kaur made 24, but nobody really contributed. And the New Zealand seamers really came to the party. Leah Tuhuku and Peterson, they really came to the party and they took 7 wickets between them and then dismissed India for just 149. So that meant that it's going to be an easy chase. And again, the captain, Satterthwaite, came back and made a 66. And along with Susie Bates, the opener, they comfortably took New Zealand home. So it was a 2-1 victory for the Indian team in the series, right? But, I mean, they now have 3 T20s to look forward to. So I still say the one thing I would like to remind this takeaway is that one of the New Zealand players made this statement. They said the Indian women showed how to do a good tour, how to really play on tour, right? So it was a good lesson for them, they said. So it was nice. So I hope the Indian women's team can also take this form going forward and also win the T20 series, right?
Yeah.
That was a quick summary of that.
But one additional point I would like to mention about Smriti Mandhana's performance in this series, as well as in the last few ODIs that she has played. In the last 10 ODIs, before this third ODI, I think, she has made a score of 50 or more in 8 innings during the last 10. That's prolific run making.
This is almost Dravid-like, isn't it?
Yeah. But with the style of maybe Sehwag, she's quite an attacking player. And in the first ODI she scored 100, match-winning 100. Second one she again a brisk 50. I saw one of her interviews the other day, and then she said she tried very hard not to get out, but she liked to finish things off. Because she always plays a rash shot and gets out after having a good start or after having made a big score. So that's why she. Even after bringing India home in the first ODI when she scored 100, she was not there till the end. I think she got out just before the end, and then she was not happy about it. In the second ODI, I think she made amends to that. I think she was not out at the end. So if you listen to her speak, she has she's very clear about what she wants. I mean, she kind of reminds me of Virender Sehwag. So she takes the bowlers to the attack and then scores runs at the top of the order. So. Let's hope her all the best. I think she's a very good prospect, a very talented player. Let's hope she takes the mantle of India's most successful women's batsman or batter after Mithali Raj. Let's hope that.
Indeed. No, it gets well that she's showing this responsibility that she wants to remain there till the end of the match, right? That's sort of the responsibility that a senior player shows. So she's
she's just 22 or 23. I think she's not that old anyway.
Yeah. Indeed. So that really augurs well for the Indian women's cricket team. All right. So if you were to look at the other limited over series that are ongoing, so Pakistan versus South Africa. So just as a summary, they basically had the 2 remaining ODIs. right? So we had already
Yeah.
summarized the first 3 ODIs. So the fourth one and the fifth one happened this week, and the first T20 also happened, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to look at it, well, I mean, Pakistan won the fourth ODI comfortably to square the
Yeah.
series 2-all, so that they could take it into the decider. So uh, they first of all bowled first in the fourth ODI, and then except Amla and maybe Faf du Plessis, nobody really batted for South Africa. So they were comfortably placed, or relatively comfortably placed, at 119 for 2,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
they were able to then not really capitalize on that. By this
Yeah.
time, they were sort of stuck for runs. They were in a rut. They couldn't get out of it. And then Usman Shinwari comes in, and maybe Shaheen Shah Afridi is introduced back into the attack, and they really, really bowl well. What do they
Yeah.
do? Usman
I,
Shinwari takes us, 35 wicket runs considered. He takes 4 wickets. So that in 7 overs, he made a good comeback,
yeah.
right? As a result of that, Pakistan comfortably win the fourth ODI.
Yeah.
But in the
Yeah.
last ODI, they sort of, they all the old frailties came back, and um, they sort of were able to not really perform well in the decider. They first of all, they batted first in the last
Yep.
ODI. In
Yeah.
this case, they sort of only were able to make 240, and these two with a lot of impetus from the lower order. So from the top order, only Fakhar Zaman played well, and the South Africans bowled really well throughout. So they brought back Dale Steyn into the 11 for the last ODI. They did a few different things. They started the innings with Imran Tahir instead of another fast bowler, along with Steyn. They brought in Vian Mulder into the middle order, right?
Yeah.
So they tried a few things. They were experimenting, but still they were on the top of their game. They continued to strike, get wickets on regular intervals, except Fakhar Zaman, who made 70, right? Nobody supported him. And then
No.
only towards the end, Imad Wasim scored a 47, so that they could even get to 240 at the end of 50 overs. But
Yeah.
this is really not going to be enough. So this South African run machine is also really nicely geared up, and Quinton de Kock leads it, and he made an 83 of 58 balls, and then he really blew Pakistan out of the water. I think he was given a life early on, but it really didn't matter. You know, Mohammad Amir, who's been sort of under the radar, continued to stay under the radar. He did not really look effective. I think he's attracting a lot of criticism because, look, there was nothing in the chase. First of all,
Yeah.
Quinton de Kock hit 83. There was nobody supporting him at the top, but then Reza Hendrick comes in and they go on really helter-skelter. And then
Yeah.
the back of the chase is broken. Even though he gets out with about 90 runs required, Faf du Plessis and Hendrick van der Dussens comfortably finish the let's say the series, and they win the series. So this is a quick summary of the one-day series, right?
Yeah. So, Ajit, before we move on to the T20, I want to mention something about the captaincy here of Pakistan. Shoaib Malik stood in for Sarfraz. Sarfraz was handed a 4-match suspension. What do you have to say about that? It's an ongoing issue throughout this ODI series and the T20, but what do you have to say about this now?
Look, we sort of discussed this in the previous episode as well.
Yeah.
I found it a bit odd that the Pakistani board was disappointed with the penalty that was imposed on Sarfraz. So we already were reading which way the wind was blowing. We were saying Faf du Plessis accepted the apology, but he wouldn't sort of rule out a penalty because that he said was not in his hands. He could have said it was, but he sort of clearly indicated a penalty would still be in order, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how it turned out, and we sort of almost predicted a 4 to 8 match ban is what is going to come, right?
Yeah.
And this is exactly what happened because Ehsan Mani, the PCB chairman, sort of hit out at ICC saying it's against common sense, etc., etc. I found that a bit weird because, look, in a country like South Africa, you can't get away by saying something racist, right? Especially given the history. So that's unfortunate. In this case, as a chairman of a board or whatever, the less you say is better because you're not going to come out looking good or smelling of glass, as they say. So it was a bit weird, but I mean, I think Shoaib Malik has been doing a good job, right? You could see there's a difference in captaincy style already from the fourth ODI.
He's much more calm, on the field. He's not expressive.
he doesn't shout as much. Look, he's also 37. It helps. He's seen a lot more cricket, right? And he's been through the ups and downs. You see that. It's also another thing I would like to quickly mention. Personally, I think it's not a regression, but maybe they could have tried out Babar Azam or maybe even Fakhar Zaman if they thought if they were the guys going forward. But they chose, it's clearly a stopgap, right? The bigger plan is still in place, and Shoaib Malik is just the guy who's playing a small part. So it might not be a bad idea, right? But as these things go, there's already a little bit of windstorm back in Pakistan where they're talking of maybe Shoaib Malik taking over the captaincy till the World Cup, but he's adamant and he's insisting he doesn't want to do it. So let's see how it goes. For me,
Shoaib Malik doesn't want to do it.
No. He just wants it to be his swan song. He wants to finish off ODIs with the World Cup. So we'll have to see, right? For me, I would like to see Sarfraz continue such a short term left. It might not be a good thing to change captains, given that he doesn't have the sort of results you would like, but that's okay. Right. So this leads us to the last match that's just happened today, the first T20 between the two teams, right? So, it was a very exciting T20. You could see that first of all, South Africa batted first and they scored 192 thanks to Faf du Plessis 78 and Reza Hendricks 74, both of whom are carrying their good form, right? They had a new keeper in Gihan Klute. And they also sort of had a lot of new people in the lineup. So Henrik Larsson only played as a batsman, and you had Chris Morris who came back into the mix again, right? So and also they sort of rested their premium bowlers. They took on Buran Hendricks, Junior Dalla, and Tabraiz Shamsi, right?
Yeah.
So I would say it was interesting to see that they would get a completely new lineup, but the lineup clicked really well. You could see that, first of all, the batting part was very good. They set up a very challenging score on a big stadium like Cape Town. It was really nice to see that they were able to score 192, which is a tough score. But then Pakistan really came out firing. So even though Fakhar Zaman could not get off to a flying start, Babar Azam looked in really good touch. So Babar Azam and Hussain Talat was promoted to number 3, really did a good job, right? And along with Shoaib Malik, who sort of stuck fighting till the end, they almost took Pakistan home. A 6-run loss is nothing to be ashamed of. They did really good. But I think the credit goes to the little bit of difference between the two teams when it comes to the, let's say, the fielding and the bowling and those small skills. So they were able to really make a big difference with that. So now, with this going on, I would say I think the series is very interestingly set up as far as I am concerned.
Yeah, right? One thing I forgot to mention, Ajit. At the end of the ODI series, although South Africa won it 3-2, the man of the series or player of the series was Imamul Haq. Do you think that is a fair appraisal of his performance or of the whole series that has gone on?
Yes. I would definitely think that, because I think he's really performing well. He's able to go ahead and he made a few telling contributions to the team. So I would say that's well done him, and he deserves it, right? So I'm really backing Pakistan to still take the T20 series 2-1. What do you think, Giri?
It's going to be difficult. Pakistan is the number 1 T20 side in the world, so you could count them to put up a good performance. But then again, I think it's going to be tough. T20 is more of a lottery. It's not real cricket for me.
Okay.
Yeah. It can be anybody's day.
Of course.
So.
All right. So now, if we've wrapped up all the international events that's been going on, let's take a quick look at the miscellaneous, some of the other events around the cricketing field. So now we say,
so we were to look at the NL team's performance. NL team has NL being Netherlands, right? So we are in the Netherlands. So let's take a quick look. So they have 2 upcoming tours. One is the Oman tour starting on the 8th of February, and the other is the India tour, which starts on the 18th of February. But in the Indian tour, they play some first-class matches and versus India and so on. So in the Oman tour, they are led by Peter Saylor. In fact, they are led by Peter Saylor in both these tours, and they have a very, let's say, very experienced lineup. But what we see is in the tour to Oman, they have the services of both Ben Cooper, the brother of the Australian player, right? And then they also have Ryan Tendoshkata, or Ryan Tendo as he's called, right? So they have both these very experienced players playing for them, and they are coached by Ryan Campbell, the Australian, right? And James Hilditch, who's also an ex-Australian player, right? So there are all these people. And then when it comes to the Tour of India, unfortunately, Tendo is not available, right? Because I think he's probably going to play in the IPL or one of the other
PSL
leagues.
maybe. I think PSL precedes the IPL.
You got that right. You got that right. But still, they have a very strong team. So it's going to be very, very interesting because I have a little bit of experience playing in these leagues. I see a lot of names here and a lot of league teams that we come across. They of course play at a slightly higher level, but it's very nice to see all of these clubs being represented.
But who are they going to play against in India?
I have to really check the.
Okay.
Really check the.
I think we can do that in the next episode. We can do a more detailed coverage.
So in one of the upcoming episodes, we'll try to see what other matches Netherlands will be involved in, and maybe we can also summarize them quickly, right?
Yeah, would be nice. Yeah.
All right. So now going forward, there is another not so nice incident that's happening in Sri Lankan cricket where Mrs. Lasith Malinga, Tanya Pereira, is having a Facebook spat with Thisara Pereira, the all-rounder of the team, right? So there seems to be some little bit of a bad blood in the way the captains changed around the end of 2017, I think, because Thisara Pereira was the captain and the captaincy was then handed over to Lasith Malinga. But something has really gone wrong there, and some of this dirty linen has been washed out on the Facebook platform, which is very unfortunate, right? Have you read or seen any of this? Followed this?
No, I haven't had time to look at this actually. I just saw the news article flash by, but then didn't go much into details. But it doesn't look like a nice thing to be associated with. You don't want to do those things. You want to be focused more on your cricket than these trivial things.
Of course. So I would say, Thisara Pereira is sort of trying to take the higher ground by approaching the Sri Lankan cricket CEO, Ashley De Silva, and trying to get him to intervene and get it resolved outside of the public platform. So just a small thing to mention, maybe not a good thing to do, considering both are very important players and in a World Cup year with a few months left. You don't want to really rock the boat. But let's see. Small things, I think they'll overcome it. They'll, be stronger for it. So one of the other things that we can quickly take a look at is that,
Ranji Trophy finals. It's going to start on 3rd of February. So that's the Sunday. It's going to be played at Vidarbha Cricket Association Stadium, which is at Nagpur. Going to be played between, let's say, Umesh Yadav against Cheteshwar Pujara. Vidarbha against Saurashtra.
That's how I would look at it, of course.
But it's being played at Nagpur, which is Vidarbha's home ground. So, what are your thoughts about this?
Look, first of all, I would like to really say I'm happy to see these two, India representatives going back and representing and playing for their state teams. Right. This makes Ranji Trophy stronger. This makes our domestic setup stronger. This shows that. And we already saw the difference that Umesh Yadav and Cheteshwar Pujara made to the respective semi-finals, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
They were the top performers. And I'm sure it will be, again, a really, really tough contest also in the finals. But look, Vidarbha are the defending champions. They also have a lot of good pedigree, a lot of good players there. And it's going to be a very interesting final as far as I'm concerned. I think it'll be a keenly contested final. So it might be more than just Umesh Yadav versus Che Pujara. But I think these teams are evenly matched. But if anything, I think Saurashtra has a stronger batting lineup and Vidarbha has slightly stronger bowling lineup. So I think it's going to be a nice match. So whom do you back, Giri, to win?
Well, I mean, my home team is not playing. Karnataka is not playing. So,
all right.
If I were to choose either of these, because I'm a fan of his batting and the way he approaches the game, as a purist, I would support Cheteshwar Pujara's team on this occasion. So I would like Saurashtra to win. If that's going to happen, that's another story, of course. Yeah, but
I'm going to just to offer a counterpoint. I'm going to back Vidarbha to win. Or rather retain the trophy, right?
Umesh but Vidarbha are the defending champions, right? So
exactly. I'm going to back them to retain the trophy. So
I think you mentioned this offline or maybe in one of our earlier episodes that a team which wins the Ranji Trophy on a given season has a chance of winning it 2 or 3 times on the trot, because they have such a solid team-based they can build on. They can keep performing at a very high level consistently, right? I think it's one of the things we have seen over the years at Ranji cricket.
Indeed. No, but it is seen also along the same lines. You see the same patterns emerging overall across the different leagues in the world, sometimes even in the ODIs, that a very strong team is able to convert and try to
Sustain.
sustain and go. Even Karnataka team did it a few years ago, right? And Mumbai has been doing it for decades, I guess. So yes, so to keep it short, I would say yes, a strong team, a strong core of the team always is good, and they're able to take it further and further. Okay then. So these are some of the events that we wanted to cover today, right? So if you were to now look at some of the standard things that we normally say. So first of all, we've already covered the answer to the the trivia question we had last week. So let's now go for the new trivia question, right? So the trivia question this week is, which is the only batting record that is remaining from the first ever test that happened between Australia and England in 1877 at the MCC, right? So I would say, there's a very special record that remains. This is a very unique record that, it's a batting record, and I would encourage our listeners to think in terms of percentages, right? That's all I can say. So just think about it, and the answer will become obvious, right? And it's sometimes even discussed about even now in the commentary if you were to listen to it in live matches, so especially tests. So yeah, we would love to listen to your thoughts and your comments, and also to the answers, right? For example, earlier in the episode, we were already discussing about Jason Holder's height. So we were discussing if he's the tallest centurion or the double centurion out there. So any thoughts or inputs about this, or maybe you want to debate us on this, please feel free to write to armchair.cricket@gmail.com or tweet to us at armchaircrickpod. This is our Twitter handle, right? And during matches we are around, so maybe you want to have a banter with us on Twitter or have a nice debate. Also, I think given the amount of cricket we are playing these days, right? So there's such a lot of cricket we'll get to notice also in the coming weeks. We have the ongoing T20 series between South Africa and Pakistan. We have the 2 tests that are ongoing, right? And following this will be the 3rd test between England and West Indies as well. And India will now go back home once they wrap up the T20 series and so on and so on. So plenty of cricket to look forward to. So I hope you guys can join us again in the upcoming weeks. So I would like to thank Giri for his wonderful contributions, and also, for hosting the first part of the show. So thanks a lot, Giri.
Thanks for having me, Ajit.
Thank you. And thanks to all our listeners. Hope you keep listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast. Thanks, guys. See you around. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.